Hey friends, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be painting these flowers. This is watercolor. This is watercolor on paper. For some of you, you might have already painted this watercolor, which is basically the same as this, just a different color. These are autumn colors. We're going to be using the same technique with water, lots of water, a little bit of color. So stay tuned. All right, this video we are doing the same process, but we're going to be doing some purple and pink flowers. Just like the other one, we're going to start out with what is the center color going to be? If I'm going to do pink, I'm going to go in, I'm getting magenta. I'm using magenta, and I may end up putting some red in it. But let's just start out with magenta, and I did put a little bit of brown just so it's a little darker. It ends up being like a maroon color. So if you do use magenta and you put brown with it, it becomes more of a maroon looking color. So now we're going to go in, we're going to have let's just start here. 3 dots. Get lots of paint, put it in there, 3 dots. You're going to clean your brush. We're going to tap the brush onto paper towel so it's not dripping with water. You want it loaded with water but not dripping. And then I'm going to go in here and touch the color with the clean water on my brush and pull out these leaves just like that. There you go. And then I'm turning my page around so I can get my brush. So I rinsed my brush, I tapped it on the paper towel so it's not dripping too much. You want it loaded with water but not dripping. You're going to pull it out. There you go. So now I'm going to go back. I'm going to dry my brush a little. I'm going to pick the color up again. This time I want more of the magenta color than the maroon. And I'm going to create 2 more dots. I'll put one here and I'll put one here to create 2 more leaves or 2 more petals. Clean the brush, and then I'm going to start creating this leaf or this petal, and then touch the color. The color will come rushing into the water. I'm going to do the same thing here. And then I'm going to go back, and it seems like there's like a hole right here. I'm going to go in and make this leaf a little larger and this leaf a little larger, or this petal a little larger, just so they come together some. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is go back in and pick up more color and add a little bit more color to the center of our flower. So I'm doing that, and as you can see, if there's extra water there, it's rushing into the petal. I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and then we'll add some darker later. So I'm going to do this twice. I'm mixing up this color again. It has a little bit of brown. Ooh, that's a lot of brown. That's too much. I want more pink. I'm going back into the magenta. Okay. And we'll do another one, I guess over here. 3 dots. Lots of color on those 3 dots. Rinse your brush. I'm going to turn this around so it's closer to me. Don't miss another video. Subscribe today. Okay, then I'm going to go back in, get more color, and add a dot here, and add a dot here. I go in and add, ooh, that had a lot of water on it. So I went back and tapped it on my paper towel because it was like a lot of water. I mean, you need some, but good grief. Okay, and I'm going to spin it around here and add. So when I added the color dot right at this part right here, it ran into this other petal. So I'm going to spread that petal out a little, spread this petal out a little. I'm going to have to add more color. Okay, so I'm going to go back in. I'm picking up more paint and adding more paint in the center of my flower. And it's rushing in to the rest of the petal. Okay, and then something it's off just a little, doesn't really bother me too much, but I'm going to make this petal a little bit bigger. And now that this is dry, a little more dry, I'm going to go into the center. I'm adding purple to my brown, the brown and magenta mixture. I'm adding dark purple to that to create a really dark color for the center of my flower. Now I may wait and let that dry some before I add more of the dark in the center. And this just, I think this needs to be, put some texture in it. I don't know if you've looked at leaves of a flower or the petals of a flower. They have veins in them. So I'm pulling out some of the color from the center to give it a little texture. And you see how I did that? And I'm going to probably do this since I did it on the other one. I want to be consistent. I'm going to do the same thing on this. Now, if it's still very, very wet, it will blend and be very, those streaks, they look really strong right now. But if it's still wet, then they'll spread out and they won't be so prominent. Okay, so now we're going to add one more. How about we do purple? We're going to add a purple flower. I'm mixing up some, oh, I just splooged on my paper. Whoops, splashed on the paper. That's another thing. If you splash on a paper, if you get a paper towel and get it immediately, it's almost completely gone now. So let's say we put a purple one here. Do 3 dots. Clean our brush really good so it just has fresh water. Now my paper is starting to buckle. Since I like to spin my paper around, I didn't tape it down. So I'm going to get my hand and push it down so when the water hits the page, it will stay in place instead of run into the other flower at this point. Now I may do that. That might be kind of fun. So maybe I do want these leaves to be longer. No. Okay, so we're going back in with the color, and this time I'm going to pick up a little bit of the magenta. Since magenta's in this, I'm going to pick up some magenta and mix it with my purple, so then the purple that I put down is a little different color than what I did before, which gives more depth and variety to your painting and to your flower, which is a good thing. Okay. Just touching that color, the little color dot, and pulling it out. And remember, you know, flowers are not straight, so you don't have to have everything totally straight. This color, get some of this other purple in here. So I'm adding more pigment because I feel like they're really, really light. Super light flowers, and I want them to have a little more color. So I'm adding a little more pigment, and I'm going back in and touching the pigment and getting it to bloom into the rest of the flower. Okay. Okay, now we're going to add the stem. What I'm going to use is a flat brush. You don't have to use a flat brush. You can use a liner brush. In fact, I think I'll use a flat brush on one stem so you can see what it looks like. And then I'm going to use a liner brush on another stem so you can see what it looks like. The different types of brushes. Okay. So I'm using the flat brush. Let me see what color I want it to be. Okay. I'm going to have this stem come down like that. All right, there's the flat brush. And now the liner brush. And I'm going to use a different color of green. This is a yellow green. I think I'm just going to have it come down through here. So it went too much into my flower. So I'm going to go in and dab my flower because I don't think I want that much in my flower. And I think that this is really, really lighter than I expected it to be. So I think I want to go in and create a darker stem by, I'm going to create a darker stem. Okay, I mixed a little bit of purple, a little bit of blue with the green. I don't know if you're seeing what I'm doing here. It's a darker color, and I added a little bit of purple to it. The other thing about stems are they're usually bigger at the bottom, and they have notches on them, and they're usually bigger at the bottom than at the top. So this was already wet. I'm just adding a darker green to it, And this is like really bright. So I'm going to go in and add a darker green. And it's going to be larger at the bottom. Okay, and then I need to add another stem here for this guy. And since we have added this green in here, I almost need to add it everywhere else because now it looks really out of place. So I'm going to go back into my yellow. I'm going to mix it with a little bit of the green to come up with that color again. And since I've already added it here, I'm going to add it over here to the other stem. Otherwise, it looks out of place. That color completely looks out of place. That's how you fix something that you go, oh, I'm not real crazy about that. So I went in and dabbed it a little. I'm going to go in and add this brighter green since I already added it over here. Okay, what we did was we let it dry a little bit. I think we should put a few leaves on it, and then I think the center, it would be really pretty if they were a little darker. So I think that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm going to grab my brush and make sure it's clean. Since it's real warm right now, so this dried really fast, but then also all my paint dried. So I always go in with a spray bottle and put a little bit of spray over all the little pads of paint, and then I'm able to go back into it fairly easily. And okay, so the centers, what I'm going to do is I want to do something dark. I'm taking a little bit of purple and I'm adding purple to that brown and to the magenta that we had earlier, just to create something a little darker and not actually use black. Now you could use black. I just try to stay away from black as much as possible because I think that the colors are rich and vibrant if you don't always add black. If you add these other colors like this purple to the center of our little flowers. And so, like I said, the paper has now dried and there won't be any blooming of the colors. That's not going to happen because the paper is dry. But I'm able to go in and put some contrast into these cute little flowers to finish this painting up. And then we need to think about what else do we want to do to the painting. Like I said, I think I want to add a little bit of, I don't know, it's like, I don't know, they're kind of lonely here. They almost need something else to them. Now, one of my other paintings, I added some baby's breath. That's an option. Another option is just to add maybe some leaves. You know how when you see a flower arrangement, they'll have more than just one type of flower. I could add some buds. That would be kind of fun. So I'm going to go into my magenta and create this color right here that I'm going to add. I'm going to put in a couple of buds. So a bud would kind of look like that. It's kind of round because it hasn't opened up. Maybe we do, 3 of them. Put one here. And maybe one up here. And I'm on the side of my brush again, and I'm flaring out the top of it so it's wider at the top and smaller at the bottom. Okay, I'm going to add some of this dark purple to the bottom of this, of each bud, like that. And now, since we've done that, we've got to go back with our flat brush and get the green again. Which is still, I have it all, let me move this over some so you can see all of it. So I still have it mixed up on my palette right here. So I'm going to go in and add, you know, up here. This is going to go all the way through. And I'm going to have it come down over here. There you go. Ooh, that's pretty. So now, make sure it's... So now we need to add that other green into it a little bit, because then it is uniform with everything else here. So I have this green, it's still, you know, I may need to add a little bit of yellow to it right there. Yep, to get that bright green again, but we're going to add a little bit to it, to the top up here. Just because we did that on the other ones. Now, something else that we need to do is, usually a bud is darker at the bottom, maybe even has some green on it. I'm going to go in with my green, and I'm going to add a little bit of green. Before it opens up. I almost want to go in and get a little more yellow. And it can mix right on the paper with the green that I already have there. Like that. Okay. Okay, so the only other thing I would want to do is add a couple of leaves. And I wouldn't make them very big. I'm not going to make them very big. I'm just going to make them thinner, you know, kind of like this right here. Is kind of, looks almost like it's going to be a leaf. Some paint on there. Yeah. I mean, the leaves don't have to be very big. I need more pigment on it. Okay. All right. That's really pretty. So at this point, I think it's done, because you don't want to overdo the composition. And I think it's really pretty. It's, I think there's plenty of high contrast to it. So if you want to add more, you can. Remember, don't overdo your artwork.
I think I'd like to do another painting. Come join me, and next time let's add some more flowers in the background. And see you in the next video.